Hey juniors, today we're going to talk about the French and Indian War. So go ahead at the top of your notes page, write today's date, which is 7/31/2014. Underneath it, our objective is the French and Indian War. At any moment in this video, feel free to pause for note taking. Our essential question for the day is, what are the key events in the French and Indian War? As always, the essential question does need to be copied at the top of your notes page, so feel free to pause the video and copy this essential question down. Alright, before we get into the French and Indian War, I want to go ahead and acknowledge that Britain has a long history of fighting with France. It goes back centuries and centuries. But remember yesterday when we talked about geography that France controlled the Ohio River Valley region and parts of Canada. So all this area in yellow is controlled by France. This area was valuable land that was full of animals that contributed to the booming fur trade. So as you can see in this bullet point, part of it is bolded and underlined. That part does need to go in your notes. Now, tensions began to rise as English settlers who were in the colonies began to move past the Appalachian Mountains into French territory. Now remember, the Appalachian Mountains served as this boundary between the British and the French. But in the 1750s, the British started to cross that boundary and go into French territory in order to get into the fur trade. And as you can see, this last bullet point is bolded and underlined and does need to be copied into your notes. Pause the video if you need to. Alright, so conflict finally started in 1753 when the British military moved into the Ohio River Valley region to take it over. And then, as the conflict continued, George Washington, our first president, moved in with more troops to the region. Now, this might seem a little unusual to us, but during the French and Indian War, George Washington fought on the side of the British. Once he got to the Ohio River Valley region, he was met by the French military and defeated after a long battle at a small fort called Fort Necessity. His defeat was the beginning of the French and Indian War, and Britain fought against France with the help of the Native Americans. So again, you see some of these bullet points are bolded and underlined. Those parts need to be copied into your notes. Pause the video if you need to. Alright, so during war, the biggest challenge is how do we unite everyone and how do we make sure that everyone is informed? And that's exactly what the colonies tried to do. They looked for ways to unite themselves, but they also looked for ways to get more support from other Native American tribes. And the solution was this idea of the Albany Plan. And the Albany Plan was created by Ben Franklin, who's this guy over here, and proposed that the colonies be united under one central government. So you see that bullet point is bolded and underlined and does need to go into your notes. So feel free to pause the video and get that note. The government that was proposed in the Albany Plan would consist of one main general and a council of delegates from each of the 13 colonies. And the Albany Plan also proposed that the Iroquois Native American tribe be brought into the war. However, this plan never became a reality, and the Iroquois actually remained neutral throughout the war. Now, every war has a turning point, and in this particular case, the turning point for the English military was in 1759 when they captured Quebec. However, this particular capture of Quebec did not necessarily yield any type of quick end to the war. The war went on for 4 more years. Eventually, in 1763, Britain and France got tired of fighting and signed the Treaty of Paris, which officially ended the French and Indian War. The Treaty of Paris gave Canada to the British, and it also gave all of the French lands east of the Mississippi River except the city of New Orleans, which we see is not in green. So all this land between the Appalachian Mountains and the Mississippi River, as well as Canada, now belongs to the British. So what happened to the city of New Orleans? Well, France had allied with Spain for 1 year during the war in 1762. To thank them for the support, France gave Spain the entire Louisiana Territory, which extended from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean, and it also gave them the city of New Orleans. So now there are only 2 countries in North America, England and Spain, and they're separated by the Mississippi River. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to get the notes that are bolded and underlined from this slide. Alright, the Proclamation of 1763. This is super important. This will definitely come up on any of our tests and also on the LEAP test. I guarantee it. So, England had tons of new territory for settling as a result of the Treaty of Paris. Remember, all this land is now theirs. So naturally, the colonists wanted to move into this new land. However, Britain was worried about conflict with Native Americans that already lived in the new regions. So what they did was they enforced the Proclamation of 1763. And what it stated was that the colonists could not settle west of the Appalachian Mountains. So they could not be in this new territory. They had to stay in the colonies. Naturally, this angered the colonists. And this was the first sign of major conflict between the colonists and the English government. So go ahead and get this very important note on the Proclamation of 1763. Alright guys, that's it for Intro to New Material. You're now going to do 3 things for independent and guided practice. The first thing you're going to do is close your computers. The second thing you're going to do is read pages 95 to 97 in your Red Social Studies books. And then you're going to create a timeline of major events in the French and Indian War using your book. Thanks for listening, and I'm excited to practice today. Thanks, guys.